So, we finally have enough cards that I feel comfortable making a review on Perils in Paradise Taurus. I believed that it is objectively wrong to rate a lot of these cards early because you don't know the classes that what all the classes have access to with these cards. So I'm only going to specifically be talking about these four. However, how it's going to work. Only revealing both sides of the tourism chart, and I'll speak on the other two classes, but I will not fully reveal them until they're finished. Starting with Mage. Of course, we don't know what Druid is, so I can't fully say what the Mage cards are going to be. However, I can say a few things that I have noticed. Rayla, Sand Sculptor, will probably be quite good in Quest Mage, because once we get to Paladin, you'll see why. Seabreeze Chalice is insane. Go with the Flow is insane. Things like that. And for Druid especially, we do know that there is a neutral card that is coming in this expansion that says cards from other classes cost one less, which means Go with the Flow and Seabreeze Chalice will be insane in Druid because of that minor combo of just giving a minion plus, or giving that minion, it's a 3 mana, 2/4, I think, give it +2 spell damage, and you can play a million Seabreeze Chalices. I thought it was worthwhile mentioning, but it's not really much else I can say about these cards. I don't know the full capability of them in Druid, so I don't feel comfortable talking about them past just showing them off. Here's where we're talking about going back to Rayla Sand Sculptor. You have Life-Saving Aura. At the end of your turn, get a 1-cost sunscreen that gives +1/+2 last 3 turns. And Divine Brew. Give a character Divine Shield. If it already had one, give it +1 attack this turn, 3 drinks left. Of course, because of that card, 3-mana card I was saying before, you can just complete your Open the Waygate quest incredibly fast if you have Divine Brews and Life-Saving Aura. I believe that it might be actually ran in Quest Mage, so I thought it was worthwhile talking about. But let's get to the rest of the cards. Life-Saving Aura, I don't think that this card really makes the cut in Wild Paladin on its own. Divine Brew might in your Reno Paladin as just a really good option to deal with Kingsbane Rogue. It's 3 hits for Kingsbane's weapon to eat up, and that's actually quite significant. Service Ace, I don't believe this card makes any sense in any Wild Paladin deck whatsoever. Reducing the cost of your highest cost card in hand is good for big decks. Big decks don't want to be running a card like Service Ace. Service Ace is also more beneficial to hand buff decks. To buff spells like your Divine Brew, and that really doesn't make sense on what they're going for. Maybe I'm just missing what it could be, but I don't believe it'll be very good. Sea Shanty, I don't know. It's not a terrible card. It probably will be good eventually, I believe, because getting 5/5 pirates is quite good. You can combine it with Mr. Smite to give it charge, but I don't know why you would ever play that in Paladin currently, so I really don't think it does anything. Volleyball, however, I believe this card might be played in your Reno Paladins in Odd Paladin, potentially, because it's a good weapon that gives you the sunscreen. Sunscreens are fine, it's just Life-Saving Aura I don't think will make the cut on its own. It could. I could be wrong about that. Do not, there's a chance, but I'm not too sure. I think Volleyball is just that good of a card on its own. Lifeguard, the only card I can see Lifeguard having any benefit towards is Prismatic Beam. However, you have to play a 4-mana 2/7 taunt before so. Is that terrible? No, but I don't believe it will be seeing any play in Wild. Grillmaster, however, will 100% see play in Wild. Battlecry, draw your lowest cost card. Death Rattle, draw your highest cost card. That instantly slots into Reno Paladin, no question whatsoever. Instantly is going to be a very good card in Paladin. This card is great. I truly believe that there's no way this card doesn't see play. It's like Astral Serpent, but tutoring is more efficient than, well, what Astral Serpent does. And then Power Spike. 6 mana, deal 4 to a minion, give a random friendly minion +4/+4. Absolutely unplayable in Wild. That's just obvious. I don't even think that card is playable in Standard. Then we get to Sun Sapper Lanissa, 5 mana 2/6 Rogue Tourist. Your spells that cost 2 or less cast twice. I believe this card might be playable in Standard. However, in Wild, it's probably too slow. There is a combo that you can pull off with Sun Sapper Lanissa for a turn 4 OTK of, I think it's 33 damage, if I remember off the top of my head, where if you coin Sun Sapper Lanissa, then coin again, you will get 2 mana. You can play one of the new rogue cards we'll be talking about, O Manager, to deal 4 damage and get 2 coins, both of which will give you 2 mana. You can play another O Manager for 8 damage. Then you can play you'll have 8 mana total from those, you'll have 6 mana total from those coins. So you can play Divine Brew 4 times to give your hero, it would be 1 Divine Shield, then 1 attack, and then it would be plus 6 attack from that, so 7. So that's 8 plus 7, 15. Then you can play Holy Glow Sticks, which cost 1 mana because of Divine Brew, and deal another 16 damage from that. So that is 33... Wait, my bad at math? 8 plus 7 is 15, plus 6... Oh, it's 31 damage. My bad. I'm sorry. Of course, if you have, minions on board, things like that, you can make it more beneficial. If you already have a Divine Shield minion, the Divine Brew would be better, but you can play it on your hero, so it doesn't really matter. Is that a good combo? Not really. You would have to have coins from an outside source like a greedy partner to even be able to play that many, to even be able to do that combo, and you would need 4 cards, not including Sunsap or Lanessa, so it would be very hard to do on turn 4. But it's doable on any turn as long as you have a coin, or at turn 7 because of O Manager and Sunsap or Lanessa. Then you have Sandcastle. 5 mana, 3/8 elemental. Rush after this attack's turned into a location, and then what it is it's a location that has 8 durability, and it says give a minion plus 3 attack and rush. Both the durability and the attack on the location are increased by Sandcastle's stats. So if Sandcastle is like a 7/12 because you gave it Blessing of Kings, it would then turn into a 12 durability location that gives plus 7 attack and rush. This card is very beneficial from buffs, but you probably don't care enough. You just run Sandcastle as a generic good enough card in your Reno Paladin. I truly believe so. Of course, it loses health whenever you use the location, and if it has to attack into a minion because of rush, so it probably isn't going to actually have 8 durability, but it is quite good. You can only use the effect of the location once a turn, and then if you attack again with Sandcastle, it will be a closed location, so you can't do it on the next turn because of locations requiring 2 turns. I think Sandcastle is just good enough to be played in Wild and Reno Paladin. Then, for Rogue, you have Snatch and Grab, 8 mana, destroy 2 random enemy minions, cost 1 less for each card you've played from another class. This, of course, is going to be pretty good with the Warlock Taurus, or Maestra, the Masked Merchant, the Warlock Taurus. However, I don't think that this card makes any sense in Wild whatsoever. It's not a good card. Thief Rogue, the current lists of Thief Rogue are all about, Pack and Null, and the actual dedicated Thief Rogue decks are very bad, so I don't think this card will be seeing any play whatsoever. O Manager is a really strong card. I already explained why it's going to be, useful in Paladin, but I believe that if there is some form of spell damage rogue that we see ever again, O Manager will be in that deck. It is just very good to get a coin from this card. Preparation works with it. It's a card that will most likely see play at some point in a spell damage rogue, if it ever comes back. But outside of that, I'm not too sure. I don't think you run this in Miracle Rogue. It's just worse than basically everything else. It's worse than Ghostly Strike, things like that. So I'm not too sure on that front, but it's probably good enough to see play if that Lanessa deck is good in Paladin. Petty Theft. Get 2 random 1-cost spells from other classes. I don't see this card seeing any play whatsoever. Even in Paladin, just doesn't really do anything, I'm not going to lie. Then, remember when I mentioned the coins from outside sources in Metal Detector. After your hero attacks and kills a minion, get a coin, 3 mana, 2/2 weapon. I think this card is very good in Paladin, and is probably going to make the Lanessa combo actually doable. Things like that, it's just very, very, very good. I'm not going to lie, Paladin would love this card more than Rogue ever would. I don't think Rogue runs this card whatsoever. See Shill, of course, again, I don't think Rogue really cares about this card. You have better options for cheating out mana. And in Paladin, it's like Holy Cowboy, but worse. For a Wrath, but I'm not too sure. It's got less stats than Holy Cowboy. Holy Cowboy is already not that great of a card. And yeah, you could maybe play it with your Lanessa and then use it to cheat out Lanessa on your turn 4 but you'd still need, the coin because you couldn't play O Manager on that same turn. It's a little awkward, but I don't think it would really make that much sense. In Standard, maybe you would run Seashell with Lanessa, just be able to cheat it out earlier. That's definitely a possibility, but in Wild, I don't think that that's going to happen. Conniving Conman, 4 mana 4/4, replay the last card you played from another class. This is just like Contraband Stash, the 5 mana spell, but worse. Contraband Stash plays 5 cards, Conniving Conman only plays 1. Yes, it's a 4/4, but as long as your Contraband Stash had anything of that stat value, it was just better. I don't think Conniving Conman sees any play whatsoever in Wild. Swarthy Swordshiner, I think that's how you pronounce it. 3 mana 3/3 pirate. Set the attack and durability of your weapon to 3. This one is interesting because on paper you're thinking, oh, maybe you don't play this in Wild because it's a little slow, right? But Quick Pick is an incredibly powerful card. If you play Quick Pick on 2, swing, then play Swarthy Swordshiner. Gosh. On 3, your Quick Pick then becomes a 3/3 weapon. That is a lot of card draw and a lot of damage. I think that there is a world where that is actually just good enough. I'm not going to lie, in Wild. What deck would that be played in? I'm not too sure. Would Garrote Rogue play it? Probably not. Would Miracle Rogue play it? Definitely not. But is there a world where we can actually have a Tempo Rogue because of Swarthy Swordshiner? I think so, with enough support, because a card like this is incredibly powerful. Then you have Knick-Knack Shack. 3 mana location with 4 durability. Draw a card. If you played it this turn, reopen this. This card is unreal. It is unreal levels of powerful. This card will be played in Wild in some way. People have been theory crafting how to make this work. It will be good in Wild in both Paladin and Rogue. I truly believe that, let's go back for a second, Lanessa is going to be played in your Reno Paladin decks just for Knick-Knack Shack. I'm genuinely serious. And because of that, it makes cards like Seashell and Swarthy Swordshiner better. It makes your metal detector better. Because if you're already running Lanessa just for Knick-Knack Shack, you might as well run these pretty okay cards as well. I think Knick-Knack Shack is absurd. It's going to be insane for Standard. There might be a world where this completely remakes different rogue decks and makes, Tempo rogue decks somewhat playable in Wild, and I truly hope to see that. Then we have Maestra Mask Merchant. 6 mana, 6/5, Warlock Taurus, Battlecry, discover a hero card. The past part doesn't matter. Okay. Most hero cards in the game are bad. You're not happy with almost any hero cards. You're happy with Tavish, you're happy with Guff, and you're happy with, Kurtrus. And that's kind of it. Most hero cards are incredibly expensive, they don't synergize with your deck whatsoever, and they're not really that good on value. Yeah, you could get Deathstalker Rexar and have this quote-unquote value from your hero power, but it sucks. You have to pay a 6 mana 6/5 to get Deathstalker Rexar. What the? That's not worth it at all. So I don't think Maestra Mask Merchant will see any play in Wild, which means I don't think any of the Warlock cards will see any play in Wild. To be fair, in Rogue in Wild. To be fair, I don't think the Warlock cards were good enough for Rogue anyway in Wild. Even if Maestra was a good effect or cheaper, it would have had to be directly synergistic with it, and it just isn't. So I don't think it is. Then we have Treasure Hunter Eudora, Battlecry, go on a side quest to discover amazing loot, play 3 cards from another class to complete it. The side quest is to get a Duel's Treasure. Yeah, Treasure Hunter Eudora is not going to be playable in Wild. Sorry for anyone that's thinks it could, but it's genuinely terrible. For Rogue, I really think the ones you have to look out for are Knick-Knack Shack and Swarthy Swordshiner, and then, of course, you have to look out for Metal Detector, Shack, Swordshiner, and Seashell and Paladin. Then for Warlock, you have Sacrificial Imp. 3 mana, 1/6 demon, Death Rattle. If it's your turn, summon a 6/6 Imp with Taunt. I genuinely don't believe that sees any play in Wild in either class. Health Drink, 3 mana, Lifesteal, deal 3 damage to a minion, fell, 3 drinks left. Now this card I do think will see play. It's just pretty good. Yeah, 3 mana to deal 3 damage, Lifesteal is a little bit not that great. You can do that for 2 mana to a minion. It probably should go face, I'm going to be honest, for 3 mana, but whatever. I do think this is good enough in Reno Warlock, though. A Reno Warlock would love this card. Is Reno Warlock good? Absolutely not. However, it would probably really enjoy Health Drink as a minor buff to that deck. Fearless Flame Juggler. 2-mana 1/1 demon. Gain stats equal to the damage your hero has taken this turn. This card sees absolutely no play whatsoever in Wild. Why would you run this in Questline Warlock? I don't know. What other Warlock deck is taking enough damage to make use of this? Nothing else. You would never run Fearless Flame Juggler in Questline Warlock, so you don't really have to worry about it. Announce Darkness. 2-mana shadow spell. Replace your hero power and non-Warlock cards with Warlock ones. They cost 1 less. This includes the hero power. It costs 1, so you get, life tap for 1. If you were to play, a fun, meme rogue deck, you would probably like Announce Darkness. That's probably a fine card in a meme deck, similar to Renounce Darkness in Warlock. It's probably not the worst thing ever, but I don't think that deck is going to be any good, so I can't really tell you that. You could play it, and that's not the worst thing ever, but yeah. Party Fiend. 1-mana, 1/1 demon. Summon 2 1/1 Fell Beasts. Deal 3 damage to your hero. Again, you would never play this in Questline Warlock, because it absolutely ruins your Raised Dead pool, and it's genuinely not good in that deck. However, it summons 3 demons for 1 mana. There is a world that you can play this in something like Acute Warlock, which benefits incredibly well from cards like this for their the 0-mana card that destroys a minion. If you have 5 or more, it'll summon a 5/5. That card is really good. It's great with Grim Rally. It's great with Wicked Whispers. I think a Zoo Warlock might like this card enough to be playable. Zoo Warlock is already on the fringe of being good enough. Acute Zoo Warlock. It's very, very, very fringe to the point that with enough support, it could become good again, but I'm not too sure. Then you have Eat the Imp. 2-mana, fire spell, destroy a friendly minion, draw 3 cards. I think you play this in like Arena Warlock. Arena Warlock just runs, some death rattles that can actually make use of it. I think you would run this card in that deck. Or, a Q-block style deck with your, what's it called? Void Caller. Sorry, I couldn't remember what it's called. To destroy your own Void Caller, draw cards, and then, summon your Void Lord, stuff like that. I think that is genuinely might be good enough. Genuinely, I think it might be. Because drawing 3 cards for 2 mana and popping your own Void Caller is pretty good. I'm not gonna lie. Then you have Fellfire Bonfire. 4-mana, Fell spell. Deal 4 damage to a minion. If it dies, your next Death Rattle minion costs 3 less. And this card will not see play in Wild whatsoever. Even if the Death Rattle cards do see play, Fellfire Bonfire will not be a part of it. It's genuinely just not a good card. It's slow. You have to be able to kill a minion. It's not very efficient. It's actually incredibly inefficient. For 4 mana, deal 4 is not good. And then, Death Rattle minions cost 3 less. Don't really matter, because even the only Death Rattle minion in this entire expansion for Warlock is Sacrificial Imp. Are you telling me that you're going to spend 4 mana for Sacrificial Imp and deal 4 damage only if it kills a minion? Yeah. And then Cursed Souvenir. 2 mana, Shadow Spell, give a minion +3/+3, and at the start of your turn, deal 3 damage to your hero. This is what I'm talking about. Zoo Warlock loves this card. It can benefit from it by giving, minions that have lifesteal, or minions that actually like when you take damage, like your Fearless Flame Juggler. I know I said that you wouldn't run it in Questline Warlock, but I was getting back to it for the Zoo Warlock and Cursed Souvenir. That is actually genuinely quite good. You can play like Cursed Souvenir on 2 on maybe your Party Feed, maybe something like that, right? On whatever the token spawn. And then on 3, you can play like a Flame Imp into Fearless Juggler, and then you get a 2-mana 7/7 on top of your Flame Imp. Is that good? Probably not. Can you do it? Yes. Would I recommend it? That's where we're going to have to... Yeah. I think Zoo Warlock, again, is fringe playable. It's not amazing. You can do it, and I think that with a little bit more good support, it would be, but Cursed Souvenir is not the best one for that. Then you have Party Planner Vona. 6 mana 4/4, Battlecry. If you've taken 8 damage on your turn, summon Ouroboros. Actually, I'm going to pull that up 1 second. And then Ouroboros is 8 mana 8/8, Taunt Beast, Death Rattle. Give a minion in your hand, Death Rattle, summon Ouroboros. It's kind of similar to Greybow in a way, like it keeps resummoning itself, and it's a great big taunt minion. This card will probably see play in Arena Warlock, if Arena Warlock is playable. Party Planner Vona will not see play in Questline Warlock. I don't know why anyone would ever think any of these cards are good in Questline Warlock. They're just not. They're so slow, they're inefficient, things like that. But in Arena Warlock, where you're really happy to keep getting a lot of value, like from your party planner Vona, you're probably very happy to get Ouroboros World Serpent. Then you have Summoner Dark Marrow. 4 mana 4/4, Death Knight Taurus. Your death rattles trigger twice. After you play a death rattle minion, destroy it. This card is fine. It's an upgrade to Baron, for sure. It's similar to like Umbra and Baron in one card, which consolidates a lot. And if you have good enough death rattles that you can combo with it, it is quite good. However, paying this 4 mana tax is really detrimental for Wild, that I don't know how you're going to make this card work. It is an undead, which means that you could get it out with your Amorphous Ooze, I think it's called. You can have it in your Amorphous Ooze and then, pop the ooze on the turn and then make Summoner Dark Marrow work. That is possible. Is that good? I don't think so. So I'm not too sure what Summoner Dark Marrow can do. However, when you look at some of the Death Knight cards, you maybe have an idea, except I'm not too sure. Let's look at these cards. Okay. Slippery Slope. 2 mana, freeze a character, draw a card for each frozen character. This card could be quite good, actually. If there's a little bit more frost or freeze effects in Death Knight, it could be quite decent, I'm not going to lie. It kind of synergizes with your Quartzite Crusher. However, it makes you not be able to play 3 frost runes because of Quartzite Crusher, which does suck. However, when we look at another card that's on this list, it already has 1 blood rune, so you're not that upset to be able to run Quartzite Crusher, which is a broken card. I think Slippery Slope has the chance at seeing play in Wild in an even Death Knight that's, 2 frost, 1 blood. I'm actually already, theory crafting that deck, but I am a little unconvinced because of Ghoul's Knight. 4 mana, summon 5 1/1 ghouls that attack random enemies. You would much rather play a Rainbow Death Knight and have Ghoul's Knight with the card we'll be talking about. You can read it over there, but I'm not talking about it just yet. You would much rather have that with Ghoul's Knight with that than you would the card draw of Slippery Slope. It's unfortunate, but I think Ghoul's Knight is a genuinely powerful card. It's removal. It goes damage face. It summons minions. It does absolutely everything that Death Knight could ever want, and it's just so good. Then, going down to the bottom, Frostbitten Freebooter. 3 mana, 2/2, Death Rattle, freeze 3 random enemies. Any that were already frozen, take 5 damage instead. That's nothing to scoff at, actually. The damage that can pump out is quite good for a 3-drop. So if you are able to make it work, that is pretty good. Like, you could give it Reborn from another card that we'll be talking about in a second. Or you could give it Reborn from your... I can't think of the word. Mosh Pit from Festival of Legends. Now, I'm going to go back to Warlock for a second because of Summoner Dark Marrow. You can run these new cards like Slippery Slope or, of course, Frostbitten Freebooter, things like that, in your Arena Warlock. Why is Slippery Slope and Snow Shredder, the 4 mana 4/4, cost 1 less if character is frozen, undead, so good in Arena Warlock? Because of Soul Freeze. 1 mana, freeze an enemy minion and the minions adjacent to it. Take 1 damage per minion frozen. Which means Soul Freeze plus Slippery Slope will draw you 4 cards. That's a lot of card draw for 3 mana. 3 mana draw 4 and freeze 4 characters is a lot of card draw, very efficient at the same time. I think that is the best use case of Slippery Slope and Snow Shredder. Now, we see Corpsicle. 2 mana, deal 3 damage, spend 3 corpses, turn this to your hand at the end of your turn. This is a great card just in general for Rainbow Death Knight. It lets you spend corpses. It lets you have infinitely repeatable corpse spending. It gives you burn for for frost decks. It's just a good card. I think this card will see play in some way, shape, or form in Even Death Knight, as Even Death Knight is incredibly good at generating corpses. However, is Even Death Knight going to be good? I'm not too sure. It's really bad right now. It's not good. Like, it's suffering a lot, and not getting Unholy support is a big part of it because of, Grave Strength and Marrowgar being the best 2 cards in the deck. But I think, this Rainbow style support that we're getting this expansion for Even Death Knight, which is very obvious. I mean, only 2 cards on this list are not even. So it's very obvious they want to support an even Death Knight in Wild. Even if it's not intentional, it's obviously happening. I think even Death Knight is definitely going to be the best Death Knight in Wild, again, for obvious reasons. Dreadhound Handler. 2 mana, 2/2 rush, Death Rattle, summon a 1/1 Dreadhound with Reborn Undead Pirate. This card's just fine. I think it might see play in Wild just because it's really, really good into Pirates. Being able to kill a Treasure Distributor and then leaving a 1/1 with Reborn to help fight for the board is very good. And it's just really good with this next card. Horizon's Edge. This card is fucking broken. 4 mana. Deal 3 damage, randomly split among all enemies. After a friendly minion dies, reopen this. Yeah. So a 2-drop that gives you 3 bodies, even if it's over 2 turns, or I guess 3 turns, is really, really good with Horizon's Edge. I think Horizon's Edge makes even Death Knight a playable deck this expansion, and possibly just a straight-up Frostburn Death Knight, because Horizon's Edge is so powerful. This card is absolutely insane. 4 mana, deal 15 damage. Get fucked. Anyone is going to not have a great time playing against this card. Then, lastly, we have Brittlebone Buccaneer. 2 mana, 1/4 Undead Pirate. It has the Sex stat line. If you know, you know. Whenever you play a Death Rattle minion, give it Reborn. That synergizes with Dreadhound Handler. That synergizes with Frostbitten Freebooter. That synergizes with Eliza Goreblade. Brittlebone Buccaneer is instantly going to see play in even Death Knight. It is a genuinely powerful card, and I truly think that this card is insane. Absolutely insane. It will see play. It's just great tempo because it fights for board incredibly well. On top of these, Death Rattle Rush minions, because they're just going to get respawned with with Rush, and then whatever their Death Rattle was. Okay, now we have the legendaries. Eliza Goreblade. 4 mana, 4/3, Undead Pirate, Blood Frost Rune. Death Rattle, for the rest of the game, your minions have +1 attack. Do I need to explain why giving Death Knight +1 attack to all minions for the rest of the game is really good? I hope I don't. Let's see. They have a hero power that costs 1 mana that has a charge minion, so you get incredible value from that. Then you can use things like Sing-Along Buddy to double that, and Sing-Along Buddy already is good in even Death Knight. And then you have Ghoul's Knight. You summon 5 1/1 ghouls, and if your opponent has an empty board, that's 10 damage, and then 5 2/1s just left on your board. It's great for fighting for board. This is one of the best sets for Death Knight that it's had so far, and it's technically only had 6 sets. So that says a lot, right? That of all the 6 sets Death Knight has had so far, this is by far the best one. This is an incredibly powerful set. I genuinely think this makes Death Knight Wild viable for the first time ever. Sorry, not the first time ever. The first time since it was a full year ago. It was okay. Triple Blood Death Knight was fine. It was playable in Wild. It had its uses. Was it amazing? No, but it was playable. And then they nerfed the Discover mechanic, and then Death Knight just fell off completely. Then lastly, you have buttons. 5 mana, 5/5, Shaman Taurus, draw a spell of each spell school. Undead. Of course, in this you see Frost. That's the only spell school. In Wild, they have access to shadow spells and nothing really else. It's just Frost and Shadow in Death Knight. But you have the Shaman cards. I'm not showing the Shaman Taurus because there's no point. We don't know the Demon Hunter cards, so I'll just talk about these cards again for Demon Hunter. But this is specifically going to be talking about these cards in Death Knight. I know that these are Shaman cards, but I'm specifically talking about their applications in Death Knight. Now, let's get back to that. Whew. Molten Magma. This is a really good card. It's actually quite strong. The issue is, you have to play buttons, and buttons kind of sucks, and the rest of these cards aren't that good. So you don't really want to be playing buttons, which is very unfortunate. Then you have matching outfits, transform a minion into a random one that costs 1 or more, then summon a copy of it, and completely useless in Death Knight. Melt Elemental. 3 mana, 3/8 taunt. This is permanently frozen. Elemental. Again, completely worthless in Death Knight. Natural Talent. 3 mana nature spell. Get a random Naga and a random spell. They cost 1 less. Again, completely worthless in Death Knight. Siren Song. Get 2 random spell schools from get 2 random spells from spell schools you haven't cast this game. This is a good card, actually. It's not that bad of a card because of the last card that I'll be reading in this set of, before the legendary. Then you have Razzle Dazzle, summon a random 5-cost minion, repeat for each spell school you've cast this game. Terrible, obviously. It's a 7-mana card that doesn't really do much, has way too much RNG, not really that good of a board fill, and requires so much setup. It's not very good for Wild. Frosty Decor, summon 2 2/4 elementals with Taunt and Death Rattle, gain 4 armor. That's a fine card. It actually is. Is it better than the Frost cards that Death Knight already has access to? Absolutely not. So it wouldn't be played in Death Knight. But you have Cabaret Headliner. 4 mana 3/3 Naga. Battlecry, reduce the cost of a spell of each school in your hand by 2. That card is insane. This card single-handedly makes me think that Molten Magma and Siren Song can be played in Death Knight. We can go back, and these are the other Death Knight cards of this expansion. Yeah, it's hard. It's hard to talk about because Death Knight in Wild sucks ass outside of even Death Knight. It's absolutely terrible. Which means that I don't see Buttons really being playable because it's not an even Death Knight card. However, Molten Magma, Cabaret Headliner, and Siren Song are really good in this Spell School style deck. So I'm having a hard time fully trying to rate this stuff for Death Knight specifically. I think that it's probably just unplayable because the rest of Death Knight is unplayable. However, it is really good. It is really genuinely good to be able to have that much mana cheat from a 4-mana card. Because as long as your cards cost 2, you can play them in the same turn. Like your Slippery Slope. Like your Corpsicle. Things like that. So, I'm going to say that they probably aren't good enough for Wild. More in the sense that Death Knight fucking sucks than the sense that those cards are bad for Death Knight. Then we'll go down... Oh, sorry, I already talked about the Mage cards. So yeah, that's it. I'm not talking about the Demon Hunter Taurus for Shaman, of course, because Demon Hunter cards aren't out. But yeah, that's going to be it for me. This is the first, 4.5, 5, 6-ish classes being reviewed. I will, of course, do the next set once they're out, and then do the last one once those are out. A full week for now, basically. So I'll probably do 2 more of these. But yeah, if you enjoyed, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Tell me what you think down below. Was I right? Do you think I was right about any of these cards? Do you think I was wrong? Do you think any of these cards are better than what I'm saying? Do you think any of them are worse? Let me know what you think. I truly believe that even Death Knight is probably one of the biggest boon to these new cards of any deck in the format. So that will be nice to see. But yeah, I have 2 giveaways going on. You can enter one by just like, comment, subscribing on this video, commenting your favorite Hearthstone card down below, or any other video running this giveaway. And another that you can join by just becoming a member. It's like a Twitch subscription. You get, when I stream, you can use emotes. You can use emotes in the comment section, things like that. But yeah, I'll see you guys next time. Peace.
Rising again, darker than they've ever been.